In all the years I've been creating content for social media, I've never seen people so interested in the box office. And it seems like every day I come across posts and videos on social media sharing updates about how Superman is doing at the box office. For better or worse, every page, depending on its focus, whether it's more pro-Gon or pro-Snyder, is saying different things. Some call it a success, others a failure or a Superman of Steel, but is that just in the United States? Some claim it hit 500 million, others mention the so-called blessed inflation. Yes, I understand that can be overwhelming for the public. But don't worry, in this video I'll explain the reality of the Superman movie. That is, whether it's a success or a failure, how does it compare to previous installments? And I'll also explain all this inflation stuff in a simple way. I know a lot of people have already talked about this topic, but personally I wanted to wait until Superman finished its run in theaters to make this video and have all the information about the total box office earnings. This video clearly explains Superman's box office, so you won't be misled by the media. Let's get started. I feel strange starting a video by saying this, but I think it's necessary because we're living in a time of a lot of polarization. I like the Superman movie, and in general, I'm a fan of what James Gunn has done in superhero movies, with the exception of Creature Commandos, which honestly I thought was pretty bad. But on the other hand, I'm also a big fan of what Zack Snyder did with Detective Comics, and Man of Steel is a movie I love with all my heart. So much so that the only 2 tattoos I have are related to that movie. I interviewed Gunn at a Brazil fan event and also interviewed Snyder when he made Rebel Moon. My point is that I'm a fan of what both directors have done. I get criticized for being too much of a Snyder fan by Gunn's fans and too much of a Gunn fan by Snyder's fans. The point is, you can be sure I won't interpret the data with bias. Like many other pages, they do it to benefit one of the 2 universes because, well, I like both. With that clear, let's get to the info. When this video was made, Superman had grossed $579 million, a figure unlikely to change much. August 15th, the movie will be released digitally, even though there are still a few theaters showing it here and there. It's not coming to home box office or other streaming services yet. Starting tomorrow, or today if I finish editing the video, you'll be able to buy the movie digitally. How did Superman actually perform at the movies? It seems simple, but the data can be interpreted in different ways. That's why, depending on the source, some pages call it a big success, while others say the opposite. Here's the deal, and I'll explain with cookies. Superman cost $225 million to make. The rule that's generally used in entertainment journalism says that for a movie to be considered a success, it has to triple its budget. It's assumed that if a movie costs $225 million, advertising adds another $225 million, and investors expect another $225 million in profit. In this case, Superman has grossed $579 million, which leaves it a bit behind the $675 million mark. These are needed for it to be seen as a big success. Be careful, it's not just about big wins or losses. Stay excited for Superman. It's still possible. The movie succeeds and is profitable in one area, but this is where things get more complicated and open to interpretation. Studios rarely disclose ad spending, but Warner said they spent $150 million advertising Superman, not the usual $225 that's assumed, which theoretically makes it even closer to success. But we also have to remember that there are a lot of expenses we don't really take into account. Recently, Christoph got upset with the movie and made a video claiming theaters take about half the box office, and the distributor about the same. Christoph isn't my favorite, but he's right. Also, Warner handled the distribution in this case. And there are also a lot of profits that aren't usually taken into account, like deals with brands, toy licenses, and digital sales. Superman had many collaborations, including with Toyota, Spotify, and watch brands. Official figures aren't available, but a 2003 article said Man of Steel earned $170 million from brand deals. Also, due to hidden expenses and income, the unwritten rule is that a movie should earn 3 times its budget, though each case varies. However, it should also be mentioned that these numbers are an achievement that goes beyond just tickets sold. The last time Detective Comics beat Marvel at the superhero box office was 17 years ago with The Dark Knight. This shows today's audience connects with this Superman. Companies seek both box office success and brand recognition to build franchises and earn even more money later. Many superhero movie sequels are far more profitable than the originals. Even though this Superman movie didn't break the box office, Warner may still see strong sequel potential for a great return on investment, or future movies in this universe. You must consider all these factors to judge if a movie is truly successful. We often forget that movies aren't isolated from their context. For example, Batman v Superman earned $874 million worldwide. With a $250 million budget, Batman's rule of tripling the budget is met and even exceeded. Still, it didn't meet the studio's expectations, and I don't think bad critic reviews were to blame. Transformers keeps making movies, and it doesn't matter to them since they still sell well. I actually think that Warner was expecting more from a movie that brought together the three most important characters from Detective Comics comics. Especially considering that Civil War, a movie that came out a month later, made $1.15 billion. So like Warner said, if I have this much money, I expected more, but it didn't meet expectations. Because they immediately started changing the Justice League film, which was already in production. In fact, they even hired Joss Whedon to lighten up the film. I hate you, Joss Whedon, I hate you. And to give it an approach more similar to what Marvel was doing, so are there different expectations for each of the productions? In the case of Superman, apparently the expectation wasn't that high. They wanted it to connect with people and launch James Gunn's Detective Comics universe. That's something it did. How do we know? Well, so far everything is still moving forward with the Detective Comics universe projects. But we also have to say that something similar happened to Man of Steel. Man of Steel made $670 million with a budget of $225 million. Like with Superman, the 3 times budget rule is almost unmet. But keep in mind, Hollywood Reporter says the film earned $170 million before release from advertising deals. Plus, it was when digital versatile disc and Blu-ray sales still brought big profits. In fact, the former president of Warner recently confirmed that, except for Guardians of Gahula and Sucker Punch, the rest of Snyder's films were very, very profitable. There are many people who insist on saying that Man of Steel was a failure in its time, especially because they compare it to other films like The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises. Remember, Man of Steel was the first film of a new universe and performed better. $375 million budget, $150 million. It's interesting how many people compare Superman and Man of Steel's box office negatively. Whether you argue Superman did better or Man of Steel did better, the reality is their box office performance was very similar. Both had a $225 million budget and failed to make back 3 times their investment, though Superman by James Gunn fell slightly shorter. But the studio decided to bet on both approaches because they felt the results were good enough to move forward. James Gunn's Superman outperformed Man of Steel critically. This brings me to inflation, the so-called blessed inflation. What does that mean? Why are Superman fans talking about it so much lately? In general terms, inflation is the sustained increase in the prices of goods and services over time. This lowers the value of money. An example makes it clearer. In Mexico, a gansito cost 11 pesos in 2019, but now it's 19 pesos, so 11 pesos isn't enough anymore. Now you can only afford just over half a gansito. Imagine that with everything. That's why your money suddenly doesn't stretch as far. That's why many say Man of Steel's box office outperformed Superman's. If we adjust the $670 million box office for inflation, it becomes about $970 million. There are 2 main issues with this. First, these websites use tools that calculate inflation only in the United States. Not all box office is from there. This is a different mistake, but there's something worse. If you adjust the box office for inflation, you should also adjust the budget. Anyway, the result would be similar. Maybe a better way to compare the performance of both movies is by calculating the number of tickets sold. And there, Man of Steel does better than Superman. You could still say the audience rated Superman higher than Man of Steel on various platforms. I mean, a ticket sold is not the same as a ticket enjoyed, but here's the important part. Why the hell do we care so much about Superman's box office? In the 10 years I've been creating content on social media, I've never seen people fight so much over a box office. I mean, it almost seems like they're going to give us bonuses as fans or something like that, but I think I do understand why it happens. Recently, we've seen 2 distinct Superman approaches, Zack Snyder's and James Gunn's. And a lot of fans have a preferred approach, and that's fine, it's normal. The problem comes when you want to convince everyone else that your approach is the best, which is a bit complicated, because art is different from sports. I mean, there aren't such clear, measurable, and verifiable parameters to say that one movie is better than another. I mean, it's the same. You can debate many aspects of a movie, script, plot, acting, but others can just as easily disagree. What else can you do? That's why many fans use the box office as an objective measure, claiming the Superman I like is best because it sold the most. That's why there's a group so focused on inflation, and another so focused on saying that Superman's box office was the best in history, but only in the United States. But let me tell you something, if your favorite Superman movie, whichever it is, sold more, it only means it sold more, not that it's necessarily better. Arguments like that won't change anyone's mind or preferences. Enjoy what you like. It's tiring to worry if others like what you do or to care about a movie's sales just to validate your taste. If you like the movie, that's what matters and makes it worthwhile. Let's remember that after this video. Because yeah, I guess the box office matters a lot if you invested in these movies. But if you didn't, why should you care? It's more important to treat each other well and be empathetic and respectful of others' tastes. Because in the end, we're all Superman fans, and I think that should matter much more than the box office. That's how Superman would want it. Don't leave yet. Here are more videos if you want to learn about Superman. Remember, if you make a purchase, it really helps us if you use the Mercado Libre link in the video description. That's all for today. I'm Go with the Geek Monitor. You see beyond the obvious?